Welcome to Brain Power with Dr. Echo, where each week we discuss how your family can boost brain health by addressing mind, body, emotional, and environmental health. And now here's the episode.
Hello, parents. Welcome to another episode of Brain Power with Dr. Echo. So thrilled to have you here with us. And of course, I have an amazing guest, Dr. Dannette Taylor. She's an amazing mom, an amazing advocate, and she coaches parents of children with disabilities. So without further ado, welcome, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here with you today. And so, like you said, I am an advocate and a coach. And the very interesting thing about me is that the families that I serve, I'm actually one of those families myself. So, I started this journey 24 years ago with my son that has autism. And as a result, I ended up spending some time in the public school system as an educator. I was a special ed teacher, a special ed administrator, an assistant principal, and then transitioned into becoming a parent advocate after realizing that there's so many more pieces to this puzzle for being a parent of a child with a disability.
And I know what you have to share with us today is going to bless so many parents and just help them go from guilt and not feeling good about themselves or their children to a place where they can feel better, do better. And so that's what we want. So you talked about the fact that you're an advocate and you've also have lived experience. So can you tell us some practical things that you like to talk to parents about? I think we talked about in the area of mindset. So I do the diagnosis and evaluation of children with ADHD and autism. And then after I've delivered this news to them, they often feel blindsided or maybe not, but often that it comes with that sense of just dread and feeling like, how are we going to get through this? And so I think what we're going to discuss today is going to be so helpful to helping parents realize that the diagnosis that they've been given doesn't define their children or their lives. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is just it. Oftentimes, when a parent receives that diagnosis, it's almost like their world has stopped, right? And so, three things that I absolutely enjoy talking to families about, especially moms, it's vision, strength, and resilience. That triad thing, I think that every parent's, they have to develop those things once you're on a journey with a child that has a disability, right? And so the biggest and probably the hardest piece of getting that diagnosis is really embracing it. Because in our mind, once we have a child, we've already planned that child's whole life out before they're even born. We've decided what they're going to be, who they're going to marry, what they're going to do for a career. We've done everything. And once you get that diagnosis, for many families, they feel as though their life has basically hit a brick wall.
Right.
So one of the major things that I love to talk about is vision. And it's basically seeing beyond your child's limitation, right? So you basically have to build a vision that's rooted in possibility and not limitation.
Yes.
So you can't get bogged down with others have to say what others have to say about what your child can't do, right? It's basically what do you see for your child in the future? What do you see for your child even in that moment? That's what matters. So the diagnosis then, your child has autism and the diagnosis says, okay, right now they have language difficulties. Right now they have difficulties with socialization. But it is just that. It's a right now moment. And when you put that work in, when you have that vision of where you want your child to go and to be, you put that plan in place and you start to act on that plan. And so you've got to create a vision that looks past the challenges and into what you want to see for tomorrow. And more importantly, into your child's potential. Your child's future doesn't necessarily have to look like one else's in order for it to be successful because your journey is a unique journey and it's unique to you, it's unique to your child and unique to your family. And that's ultimately where the power lies in your infrastructure that you create for your child. And sometimes people put those limitations in front of them versus putting the possibilities in front of them. And the vision is your roadmap. And when you create that kind of crystal clear idea of where you want to go, the obstacles actually become smaller instead of bigger. So you don't get shaken up every time, something goes wrong or something doesn't go the way you want it to go, because you continuously focus forward on that vision and you build it, you believe it, and you just, you let it guide your steps.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So powerful. All the things you've just said, the vision and possibilities and seeing past the limitations, because yes, and that's one thing I make sure I tell parents, every child has a strength and gifts, and let's together find what those strengths are and boost them, because you're so right. When we look at what can't happen or what we think can't happen, then it just magnifies it even more. So, wow, thank you so much for pointing that out. That's so important.
Absolutely. And the second piece of it is strength. And so often parents are looking for those big wins. And I can say this with all honesty, because when my son was younger, I was that parent. I'm looking for those big wins. I'm looking for those monumental jumps, right?
Right.
We all know that it's the small things, the incremental things that develop to be the bigger thing. And so strength as a parent is not about, those big jumps. It's not about you doing everything right. It's not about getting everything right. It's really just about showing up for yourself,
Yeah.
first and foremost, and for your child every single day, no matter how tough things get. One of the things that I have seen in my experience, and I also suffered with this as well earlier on when my son was younger, was getting into a place of paralysis, right? So I get so overwhelmed by the fact that things aren't going the way that I want them to go. The growth is not happening fast enough. He's not talking quick enough. He's not saying enough words, you know, and you kind of just stay stagnant and you're like, okay, well, I don't know what to do. So I basically do nothing. Right. But a part of your strength is realizing that consistent action is what's needed.
Yes.
So instead of allowing yourself to get overwhelmed with what you perceive as a lack of progress, which you perceive as a lack of progress, you continue to take those small, consistent steps that actually help you to build momentum, and you're going to see your child start to make progress. And one of those things about progress that we have to understand as moms is that we have to look at just that progress, not perfection.
Yes.
And that's not only for ourselves, because a lot of us are really hard on ourselves, it's for our children as well. So every time, you advocate, every time you support your child through a new obstacle, a new challenge, you're basically showing them, and more importantly, you're showing yourself that you're stronger than anything, than any obstacle that can possibly be placed in front of you.
That can be applied in every area, work, relationships, every area of our lives, right? If this mind of ours, something, right? Because it can magnify the things we focus on. So it's about focusing on, I'm just going to keep doing this one step and asking for help. What are your thoughts on parents that feel overwhelmed, and how can they move past that to ask for help?
Oh, that community is paramount. That is how you gain and maintain your strength, because sometimes you have to get help from people. And some of us have that super mom syndrome. Oh, we can do it all by ourselves. But the reality is, why would you? You don't need to, right? And that assistance, that support, and that help can come from any number of places.
Yes.
It can come from family. It can come from friends. It can come from a teacher at the school. It can come from a community organization. It can come from a therapist. It can come from pretty much anywhere. And so the idea that you have to do it alone is not a good idea at all, because you shouldn't do it alone. One of the things that I talk to parents about is making sure that you take a break from your children, right? And I've had people say, take a break. That's my child. I love my child. Taking a break from your child does not mean that you don't love your child. We know you love your child, but you and your child sometimes need a break from each other to reset. And so ask for that help so you have an opportunity to reset, because when you reset, you have basically put yourself in a better place than you were in after months, weeks, so for some people, years of just continuing to do it by yourself. And I've had some families, some moms say, well, I don't really have any help, or people don't want to, help me with my child because of behaviors and those types of things. But you got to know that where there's a will, there's a way, right? And so anything that you want bad enough, you'll figure it out. And so there are also organizations that provide respite care. And I know parents are often like, well, I don't know these people. Well, you take an opportunity to try to get to know them before you have them come in and stay with your child. Maybe they come in, but you don't actually leave the home. You know what I mean? But you got to figure out a way to get that support, because that support is needed for your mental health and for your mindset, because you just really have to be in a place to do this. I make the analogy all the time about, being on an airplane, and they tell you, when they read those instructions to you at the very beginning, and they tell you that, something happens on the aircraft, to make sure that you put your oxygen mask on before you put your child's oxygen mask on. And the reason they tell you that is because if you don't take care of you, there's no way you're going to be able to take care of your child. And the frame goes here. If you don't take time to reset and maintain a certain level of mental clarity for yourself, there's no way you're going to have the strength to continue this journey. And your child needs you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Your child needs you. Your child needs a good, healed version of you, because it doesn't matter if your child has disabilities or not, they still feed off of you.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we want our children, now it's not about, oh, it's my fault now. No, I mean, for your own sake, you want to be the healthiest you can be. And I mean that in every sense of the word, mentally, physically, all around.
And something I want to say about strength too. Strength is not about that you don't feel fear, right? You feel the fear because sometimes this life is scary when you have a child with a disability, when you have a child with autism. It is scary. But you still have to put one foot in front of the other and take action regardless of the fear. And so I tell parents all the time, sometimes you have to do it scared. My son is 24 now, and when he graduated from high school, not a whole lot was going on. And one of the things that we had done, we had gotten a driver's evaluation to see if he had the ability to learn how to drive. Now, mind you, my son didn't talk till he was 5 years old. So, and that was with echolalia, right? That was his language at 5. And so in my mind, I'm thinking about all the obstacles that he had gone through. And there's no way in my mind that he could learn how to drive. But he did this evaluation, and the professional said, Mom, yes, he can learn how to drive. He has the ability to do so. Now, I know you can imagine the terror and the fear that I had in releasing that to say, okay, you know what? I'm willing to try. My whole point is, even though things are scary sometimes, you still have to make a decision and do things through the fear. Okay. Yep. Yep. And when you push through with those things and you just keep showing up, you'll be amazed at the heights at which they grow. And, things just kind of start to snowball in a good way, right? They start to meet one obstacle, then another one. And then before you know it, you're like, I don't even recognize that child from years ago, because I can't believe that this is the child that at one point could not talk or could only repeat back what I said to him.
No, that's so wonderful. Yeah, because you had to walk through the same process you're telling us, telling parents to do right now, the process of letting go
That's right.
Right of the fear that, oh my gosh, what if, what if? But I'm glad you did. And I'm sure he's glad you did too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know it's so hard for parents, but the one thing that they have to have is resilience, right? And the power to bounce back, even when you kind of get knocked down, or even when, the progress that is being made isn't at the rate at which you would like to see, right? Because that resilience is what's going to be able to help keep you moving forward. And it's not just about getting through the day or the moment or even that year. It's just about bouncing back from those obstacles. It's about learning and growing stronger with every experience. And when you hit a wall, resilience tells you, okay, I hit a wall, but this is not the end. It's an opportunity to try a different approach. It's an opportunity to try something else. It's like right now there's a lot of talk about, how certain methodologies aren't good anymore for kids, right? And so if something is not working for your family, it's not a matter of, okay, I'm doomed. This didn't work out for my child, but it worked out for everybody else's child. It's a matter of saying, okay, that didn't work, but I know something else can work. And let me go ahead and see who I can get connected to find out what other options there are and continue to push through. That's exactly how progress is made. It's pushing through. It's step by step, and it's what you build. And sometimes the setback is set up to be a comeback, right?
You can say that again all day. Speak the truth. Oh my goodness. I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't push through. It's the absolute truth.
And something else too is that I don't think that we often give enough credit for. Even though our children have a disability, they're watching us and they're learning from us, right? And so our children are learning resilience from us. And they're watching us as we face various challenges and as we, get knocked down and get back up. And, when we're able to model how we move forward and push through and how resilient they are, that trickles down to them. That trickles down to them, because you're going to be teaching them the same thing too.
Yes, we are their biggest, best teachers.
Yeah,
So that should inform the adjustments we make on ourselves and the growth we allow in ourselves so that our children can pick up from that and grow as well. And even from fear and gain the strength to push through the fear because I'm sure they feel fear too as well. But
absolutely.
we're cheering them on and so that gives them the strength to realize that they can. Wow, that's so wonderful. So please, parents, you've heard all of this. You heard about vision, you heard about strength and resilience. Those three things so critical to being the best version of yourself. And again, there's no perfection, like Dr. Taylor said, right? We're all here to just be 1% better than we were yesterday. And everybody's in your own lane, not comparing themselves and their children to other families.
Absolutely. So that comparison is one of those things that really can kill your dreams, right? And not even so much about comparing yourself to other families, but sometimes comparing within your own family, comparing children, right? Comparing your sibling that also may have a child with a disability. So it's so important that we make sure that we recognize that our unique journey is our unique journey. It doesn't matter how you think that you're measuring apples to apples because this is a child with the same disability as yours, or this is a mom that has a child with the same disability as your child. It is not. It's always apples to apples. And the only way you can compare apples to apples is when you compare yourself against yourself. And the only time that you do that is when you're comparing, am I a better version of myself than I was last year, the year before, last week, right? And so you're moving towards making yourself the best version of yourself so you can have the best possible version of your child. And so the comparison, that's a way to cause yourself to be in a state of mind that you're not moving forward. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what someone else is going through anyway.
Mhm.
And what you know is what you see on the outside looking in.
Right.
And oftentimes we think that, another child with the same disability, oh, they have it much easier than I do because my child has this going on. And
Right.
that's not necessarily the case. And we want to make sure that we use ourselves as the barometer and not anyone else, because it's just a recipe for disaster. Yeah.
That would be 100% correct. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and all the experience you've had. And I know that you are a parent coach and you're an advocate. So can you please tell parents how they can get in touch with you to learn more about how you can be of service to them?
Absolutely. They can find me on social media, Dr. Dannette Taylor. They can also find me on the website, www.drdannetttaylor.com, as well as on YouTube. My YouTube channel is fairly new, but I'll be sharing information with parents about navigating the special needs journey as it relates to education, training, independence, and parenting.
Wonderful. Please do yourself a big favor and go check her out. And thank you so much again for coming on today. It's been very enriching just to listen to you. You have such a wonderful way of speaking. So thank you so much for sharing with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Parents, so you've heard it. Please share this with family, friends, loved ones that need to hear this and that may be going through a hard time reconciling the diagnosis of their child so that you can be of help to them as well. Until next time, have a wonderful day.